Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video I'll be doing my SuperCoach Team Reveal 2.0, just giving you an update on, especially a lot of the guys have sort of swapped in and out of my squad, I guess, to a certain extent because of injuries and stuff like that, or injuries to players, some role changes, and then just also injuries to other players and how that sort of, I guess, changes their respective role. For instance, Sicily, I think, has a little bit more of an accountability role, so even though he wasn't in my side, that sort of changes, and will be the guy that doesn't come in because of Luke Ryan's injuries. But before we get into this video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into the video. So as you can see here, 47,000 remaining salary, a projected score of 1694. I don't know exactly if that's necessarily the greatest, but we'll, I guess, check with other guys, etc. But as you can see, Stuart, D1, there was a thought of going the likes of a Nick Dacos. But I think that with Nick Dacos, like we're saying in the fantasy, it's going to be quite hard for him to, I think, get away just with the way that the scoring works with SuperCoach being I believe it's a 3-round system, and I think that we saw Rowbottom, especially in the practice games, actually beef up on Tom Green. So I think that you will see Rowbottom go to Nick Dacos. And I think that that could be and I think that in the forward line, I think it will, in the back line, sorry, if he does go into the back line, it will be someone like an Isaac Heaney goes to him, or even Weeks could hold him accountable. So I do think that he will have some form of a tag in the opening couple of rounds. And I just think that he is going to score, but I don't know if he will score terribly well, per se. So I think that, especially in fantasy, I think it will be a slightly different story in SuperCoach. But I expect him scoring around the late 90 or 80 for both of them. So I don't think he'll take away from you guys or take the game away from us in the first opening 5 or 6 rounds. And I think the goal for me is what I found yesterday. If we go to Team Tracker and then we go to round 9, you will see that he has this West Coast game in round 9. So the goal for me in both formats is to have Nick Dacos by round 9. That is the simple goal. As I think I'll be on top of it. Yes, I could make a goal to make it earlier and get him in earlier, but I think the goal is by round 9, hopefully Elliot Yeo or a Zach Williams or something like that can go up to a Nick Dacos, as there's currently 200k difference between Yeo and Dacos. If Yeo can make it to 520, 530, and also Nick Dacos drops to like a 600, then it's almost a trade in itself without even having to downgrade a rookie option, etc. But the rookie options you can easily maneuver at this point, or at least I feel like they'll have enough cash by then, as they'll have their 3-game cycle to gain cash. So that's why I think that is the plan with that, is to have Elliot Yeo up to Nick Dacos, who should be a top 6. Well, he will be a top 6 defender, but he could be a top 6 scorer in the game in general. And I think that scoring will come in the back half of the year. Once he gets through Hawthorn, Sydney, I think he might also he has Port, and I think he might also, does he have Richmond in round, not Richmond, Carlton. So he has Port in round 6, does Carlton follow in round 7? Nope, he has Essendon in round 7. I think he dines out there. Carlton in round 8. So that could be an interesting one if a Hewitt or something goes to him there. Obviously, they won't have Ed Kerno, as he's gone now, but a Hewitt could go to him in round 8. So that's something I need to be mindful of. And that's why I think round 9 is the target for Nick Dacos, as after that, I think he has a clean run. If we go, do I have any? Yes, I can use McRae as the sort of guinea pig here. So let's just see, 2024. He's got West Coast, Adelaide, Fremantle, Western Bulldogs, Melbourne, North, Gold Coast, Essendon, Geelong. He does have the next matchup against Hawthorn, but that might be, I think across both formats, that might be something that you just have to weather. Then has Carlton, Sydney. There's almost a warrant of, can you just trade him out for this? If he does score badly against Sydney and Carlton in the first couple weeks of the season, is there almost a warrant to get rid of Nick Dacos and then trade him back in at the end or something? Because that could be something, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. But that is my thoughts on Nick Dacos across almost both formats. But what I'm sort of thinking as well with SuperCoach, I think this lighting is pretty poor, unless it's just something to do with how it's hitting me that I'm looking at the recording of it. But anyway, moving on. So Tom Stewart, I think across both formats has been in my side the whole time. I just think with Connor O'Sullivan, and I didn't actually catch any of the practice game as I was watching the Swans one. So I don't know how he necessarily performed. All I know from that practice game was Guthrie pinged his hammy, and also that the ruck share between Conway and Stanley, it was almost a ruck off. I believe it was like 45, and then 10% to Neil, I believe was roughly where it was sitting. So that's all that I know from the Geelong game. And then, so you got Tom Stewart here. Harry Sheasel went 135 AFL fantasy points in the in their trial game. So he did really good, and it was like 42 disposals. It did say 38 effective disposals, but I think that's an effective disposal might be different, subjective or whatever, from the guy who did the stats, and fair play to him for doing the stats. So I don't know if it was necessarily that many effective disposals, but I could be wrong. But yeah, Sheasel, it just looks good at the moment, and the defenders seem to be sort of falling away. I mean, we've got Sicily having to play more of an accountability role. You've got Luke Ryan, who's injured, can't really kick. You got Sinclair, who's I think in doubt or whatever at the moment. And then you start looking at the sort of defenders. If we were just to get rid of Sheasel. So you got Nick Dacos, we talked about. Sicily, who's accountability role. You got Tom Stewart, who is in my side. You got Luke Ryan, who can barely kick at the moment. You got Sinclair, who, from what I heard, is he injured or just has a bad run or whatever? So I don't like that selection. Dan Houston is so inconsistent that I could see me selecting him in the end if another guy goes down. Then you got Nick Newman, who's got the early bye, so I don't really like that selection. Then you got Sheasel, then you got Short, who's got the early bye, Lloyd, who's got the early bye, and then you get down to Ridley already. So, you know, it really is a case of just almost selecting him because there's almost no one left, and I think he's performed well enough in pre-season to show that he can score. So hopefully, how do I get rid of that? Hopefully I can just do that. There you go. So yes, that is the reason behind Sheasel. And I don't think there'll be much, potentially much upside in Sheasel at the moment, across both formats, but we might just hit a lucky patch where he goes 110 or whatever in the first 6 and covers that off. And then we can actually, potentially sideways him or something like that later on in both formats. As I think when they do get their mix right and McDonald potentially comes back into the side, that there will be the potential for Sheasel to have a really bad fancy role. But that is just a watch at the moment. As I think in the role that he's in at the moment, he can go 110. But if he goes and starts to transfer more from that defense mid role into sort of a mid forward role that he was drafted in, that's when I start to get worried. And that's probably when I'll shift out of him if I do have to. So that's sort of my thoughts on that, and that's why I hadn't had him across both formats, and now I do have him, but both formats is because I think that defender midfield role sticks for the first 6 to 7 rounds and then shifts on. So that's why I think Sheasel is an alright pick, especially with all the defenders just dropping. Hayden Young, but in my side midfield role, he should do well. Elliot Yeo is sort of my plan, as I sort of discussed with Nick Dacos, is my plan to get up to Nick Dacos. In midfield role, trained well, just need 6 good weeks out of him. As simple as that. 6 to 8 good weeks out of him, and then we upgrade him. Williams, I need to actually talk to DR and some other guys about sort of what they're doing with Williams in effect with how the structure works with the price mechanism, the price change mechanism, and how you may be able to avoid Williams for the first 2 weeks, get to rookie scores or whatever or something like that, and then trade into Williams after his maybe you can go a guy like not a Marty Hoare, but maybe a guy that already has a rookie that's on around 0 game and gets the 3 price rises. Gets the 3 scores in, gets that price rise, and then you just flip him straight to Williams because they're the same price and you've made 60k or whatever already. I need to talk to them about are there any options in that space, and if that's an actual viable play. Nick Caulfield's, he just seems the consensus going to be best 22, and probably I'd say a 70. At least that's the AFL fantasy perspective, and I think he could do something similar in Supercoach. Gibcus full preseason it sounds like he's going to get that intercepting sort of third tall at Richmond. So intrigued to see how that goes, and that could be what I was saying with Zach Williams. That could be Gibcus on field or a Dan Curtin on field and Gibcus on the bench, and Gibcus goes up to Zach Williams, as I think that is probably the way it will go. But that is just the thoughts. And then Ethan Phillips is almost guaranteed a game with only, I think, Frost. I think there's Frost, Scrimshaw, Sicily, and Phillips are the only key defenders that Hawthorn have, and they realistically have to play 3. So I think they will give Ethan Phillips a go, especially if someone else goes down. As we've seen Devon Granger, Barras go down. Who else went down? Will McCabe went down. You've had someone else go. They've had 3 or 4 key defenders go down. And then in the midfield, you got Bont, top player. Yes, you sort of take the price hit that he's going to have, but he's going to be top 5, I would suspect, just the way he does it. I mean, you've seen the breakdowns from Jaden. His 1%ers are off the charts, and he is one of the best players to watch when you've got a fantasy or a super coach sort of in the back of your when you're sort of watching it with that perspective. And he's kind of annoying when you're playing against him because he's untaggable. So I just think he's one guy that could easily just back it up again. He went 129. What did he do in 2022? He went 116 in 2022. 2021 he went 119. So, and then 2020 in the shortened, was 116, don't think there was any correlation with the shortened season lowering scores in Supercoach. The season before that, he went 115, and the season before that, 104 and 105. So he's been a 104 type guy for the last sort of 8-9 years, and I expect him to go 120, I think, is what he could do, and that is -9, but I think you got to pay up. -9 in Supercoach isn't that bad when you're paying up for a captaincy option that plays every single game, and he also is he saves you a trade at this point. Don't think it's as valuable in the fantasy aspect, but I think it's definitely valuable in the Supercoach. Butters, he should improve. It's as simple as that. When you take away his first 3 games, when you take them away, he went 101, 67, and 79. When you take them away, you start to see that he just had, if you actually do the maths there, I believe, if we just quickly do that, let's just quickly do it. 23 times 113.8 is that, 2617 minus 101, 67, 79. 79, divide that by 20, and he averaged 118 when you actually factor in that he had a full-time mid-roll. So 118, there's upside there, and he's a top player. So I think that's going to be a good pick. And I wouldn't be surprised if he, in the end, actually stays around that 630k, 620k overall, just with the improvements as well as the way that the pricing mechanism works, etc. Tom Green, I think he's going to take the step up to the next level, and at 621k, I think he's going to be there. That could easily be an error pick though as well. We'll just have to see depending on, well, the buys in general, etc. like that, and what's the thought behind that. But he does have some really good games at the start of the season to take advantage of, and could be a captaincy option early on. Brayshaw, I just really think that he can take his game up a level again, back towards, 2022 it was 112, 2021 it was back at 108, and then in 2020 it was 103. So I think he can take his game back to sort of a 113, 114 level. And I think that he was saying that he was injured or playing with a slight niggle for the first 6 or 7 rounds. And if we look at his Supercoach scoring for those first 6 or 7 rounds, you can kind of see it. And then he went ballistic in round 8 and kind of always was improving his average, other than sort of one bad game with a round 1680. So yeah, I think he's going to be a guy that can go 114 again, which will be a smash pick. Jack Steele, he's been always plagued with injury, it seems like, the last couple of years. And you can see sort of having those rough games, but I think he's one that can step it back up a gear. Only went 94 in 2023, but it went 109 in 2022 and then 126 in 2021. So if he can return to the 2021 form, he will be one of the biggest steals of the comp. And so yeah, he's currently in my side, but we'll have to see if others have him. And then you got the 3 sort of big rookies at the moment in McKercher, Sanders, and then Sharp there at the moment. Could we see Clark there? I don't think Clark's efficiency at the moment, given that I heard he wasn't as efficient in the trial against Carlton. So I don't necessarily want him. Lazaro's come into the side just on the basis of what we've seen in the last little bit. Could he be a sub risk or just in general a bad roll risk? Yes, he could, but he's a 181k rookie. If he gets 3 or 4 good weeks, he's done his job almost as a 181. If he gets 3 or 4 good weeks, he'll be 260, 270, and that's his role there done. Cash gen. Darcy Wilson, I'm just sort of chucking some rookies that have a little bit of cash on the bench at the moment, and he was there. He's probably one that will change come round 1 when teams come out if he isn't selected, but yeah, he's there. And then Jai Clark, 124k, seems to have a decent role at the moment, and 124k, he just needs to get a start basically. 22 break even, and he could easily just go and get a 40, 45, 50, and then across, what's that, what did I say, 4 weeks there probably. So that'll get him up towards that 200k or so. But yeah, that's sort of the reasoning behind them. And you can just see the break-evens for these guys are so low that if they get one good game, they almost cover about 3. Then you have Gawn and Grundy, and yeah, these are just 2 of the obvious picks. They looked really good in their practice matches. I know Grundy put up a 101, I believe, in the practice games. So yeah, he's just looked really good and looked back to his better self, I guess. He got, I think, 3 center clearances himself, probably up towards that 5 clearances. I think it was something like 22 hitouts and 17 touches himself. So yeah, he just looks a lot better. Like, the hitouts to advantage for Sydney was just, you could see it out of the centre. It was Brody Grundy to hit out to advantage to Chad Warner, and then he'd hit up Logan McDonald on a lead, and that was how I think the Swans kicked, I think, 2 or 3 goals. They'd hit a guy up on the lead out of a centre clearance, and they goal from that. So I think that's one positive for the Swans, and I think that's why Brody Grundy is a must-have alongside Max Gawn. Is they're just underpriced. Simple as that. And Toby Conway is just there at the moment. Don't know whether I will go with the loop option, but if Toby Conway plays, I'm a type of guy to go with the 30 sort of players, especially with the buys that we have early, that we can just sort of chuck a guy on field that has the buy, it will be a Zach Williams or someone in the early buys, like a Sexton or something like that, and use them as a loophole, etc. Then we move on to the forward line. Flanders, he looked good in his game. I liked his role. I don't know necessarily in fantasy whether he's as useful to have early on, whereas and this is the same thought with Zach Williams, is can you get a guy that is, say, a 400k or a 300k and then alongside him, just get enough cash in the opening couple rounds to get him. Maybe you want to take on one of Zach Williams or Flanders, but not both. So that is sort of a thought that I'm having. And I think that maybe Zach Williams, obviously at his price, is a lot easier to get to rather than Flanders. So maybe holding Flanders and getting Zach Williams in round 3 is the aim after their bye. So that's just, I guess, my thoughts there. James Jordan, 275k. I think he is. I think personally, I have him in the Swans best 22. Some people don't have him best 22. They have McInerney, so that is sort of the debate a little bit. But he is right there and thereabouts. And I think he's just a really effective ball user. So he'll get that 75 in fantasy. But it will be, I think, a better score in Supercoach just because of his efficiency. Harms, I think that's just a smash pick. At 256k, a 46 break even. He should be going 80s, I would expect, or so. So he's not necessarily going to be the top of the line guy, but I think you can hunt a lot of value in the forward line this year. And I think he, alongside Billings, is going to be value at the moment. Billings, he looks all right. Doesn't have necessarily the greatest role, so there could be maneuver there to someone else. But I think at the moment now he's just going to gain value early, and then you can shift him on, maybe even add his buy or something like that alongside like a Sexton or someone else on my bench to someone that is probably going to be top 6. Then you got Harley Reid, and he's sort of self-explanatory. Then you have Finn McRae. McRae may end up going on my bench if Sexton, if his Supercoach score starts to reflect something good, but yeah, I really like the Sexton pick, at least because of his role, and he's just going to gain cash so quickly with a 24 break even. With the role he's getting, he's on kickouts at the moment, it looks like, so he could easily gain, almost beat his break even off just kickouts alone. So there's that. And yeah, I think that McRae at the moment, he's probably not going to, he's probably just going to be a 70s guy, but the cash is just going to generate from him being a 27 break even, and a 70 would just, you could probably almost trade him out at his buy, which is round 5, and trade him, put Sexton maybe on field, or maybe combine McRae and Sexton up to someone at that point. That's sort of my thoughts alongside that. And then Manor is just there at 117k, and we'll see how he goes, but it's iffy if he plays, and could be, like I was saying with Wilson, a rookie that changes upon team news on that round 1, that Thursday night, I believe it is. That's going to be a scramble because it's an hour before the kickoff to the Richmond-Carlton game, I believe, in round 1. So yeah, that'll be a scramble there. But anyway, that pretty much is the video, a 23-minute video, so a long-ish video on my SuperCoach Team Reveal 2.0. And yeah, just in the comments, just put any of your thoughts on it. If I've really missed someone, as there probably is someone that I've missed, just looking at the players and their ownership at the moment quickly here, and because I know Nick Dacos is the one that's probably missed, and then also Dan Curtin at the moment, 53k. 53%, sorry, and I know Dersma, and then Fife is also someone that I've missed. Fife may be a Jack Billings replacement, but sort of just having Billings there could be, he'll obviously get the cash gen jump a week earlier than Fife, so you can almost trade him in round 3 or round 2 or whatever, after round 2, as he will have gained the cash to jump above the likes of a Fife in cash, in my opinion. But anyway, that is the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.